Hello there, I'm the student, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can actually create a monarchy papal states and therefore actually have a monarch as the Pope of the Catholic Church, which literally means that you can become HRE emperor, you can have royal marriages, you can have a dynasty, you can have everything a monarchy has, but as the Pope. Okay, so the first step is that we actually need to change our tag, our gameplay tag. Now, the problem with the papal state is that they are basically, it's not possible to release the papal state as a subject, okay? So therefore, we actually need to become a new version of the papal state. And the way we are going to do that is by triggering a civil war and then surrendering that civil war to become basically a new version of the papal states, okay? Now, to do that, the easiest way would be probably to get the clergy disloyal. And I'm actually going to try to do that. Now you're going to notice that the clergy satisfaction is 10%. And that means that after a month tick, there is now a rebellion loading. And while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to get to step 2 already, which is Nosy being this guy over here, because he has no allies whatsoever. He is part of the Guelphs, which means that the Emperor is not going to defend him, even though he is part of the HRE, which is really important because, yeah, you're going to see in a second, of course, I want to become HRE Emperor. That is basically a part of the plan for that one. So there we go, no war goal, show superiority as usual, and I'm just going to recruit my levies real quick. Full annexation, doesn't matter what else, just there we go. And that means that right now I can, whenever I want, create a historical subject of this country that I can't pronounce, which will result in this country actually being part of the HRE because this one province is part of the HRE. Okay, Naples declared war on us, which is a problem, I would say. But I have actually a lot of gold, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, recruit some mercenaries and, try to push them back, basically. I think they have, they have a few regulars, actually, but mostly infantry levies. So, yeah, I hope I can actually manage to defend myself before the civil war actually triggers. Okay, that went pretty well as expected, honestly, and I think that war's over now. That the second army is going to get defeated as well. Yeah, perfect. So I've got a lot of wars go now, and I think I'm actually going to peace out before the clergy rebels actually spawn. So we should be safe for the next few years, where the phase of the civil war actually starts. And the mercenaries will be gone soon as well. I won't be using them because, of course, I want the civil war to win. The rebellion is very close to actually start, and last time I did that, they started in this one single location over there, which basically meant that they didn't have enough soldiers to even siege normal provinces down. So what I have to do now is I have to basically take these provinces away from them by releasing Spoleto as a vassal. I'm actually even going to feed them this province over here, as well as I guess some locations over there, so that the rebels now actually have a real chance to siege down my provinces and so on. So let's just see where they actually spawn when that happens. Okay, perfect. They actually spawned in Rome itself, which is the ideal scenario because I can just sit on Avignon, my capital, until the 12 months actually turned over, and then I can easily surrender that civil war to them. Okay, so apparently Provence thinks that this is a good time to attack me, and that with 0 levies, which is, yeah, let's just say a little weird, because what I can just do is I can just go to this province over here, recruit a mercenary army, and yeah, I guess I'll just take these 3.2 thousand or something. I guess not even for, yeah, maybe 1 year or 10 months even, just like that. And then I'm just going to crush them. Yeah, really annoying start, man. But anyways, finally I can now surrender this civil war and become the new version of the Papal States. So there we go, civil war lost, of course. You can see the Roman clergy has now technically overtaken my country. And I can now play as the Roman clergy, which will then result in, yeah, the Roman clergy actually becoming the Papal State, right? But technically, that means that you are a new version of the Papal State. Okay, so now it gets really interesting, because now is the moment that I'm actually going to switch countries. Now, I basically had to start as the Papal State to actually prepare this basically reworked Papal State that I am right now with the Civil War, right? So I'm not the original Papal State, I'm like the rebel Papal State, right? The rebel country that became the Papal State, okay? If you know what I mean. You're going to understand why that was necessary later. But first of all, I now need to become a monarchy as a different country. Now, of course, I'm in Iron Man mode, right? So I can't just switch to a different country. And that's, of course, you know, the entire trick of this run to become a legit Papal State monarchy. So I have to switch my country by releasing and playing as another nation. Now, that is where the first province came in that I conquered a second ago, where there is actually a historical releasable with the same name of this location that is going to be part of the HRE. Very important as well. And I will be playing as them. But to make it as easy as possible, I'm of course going to try to ruin the Papal State before that a little. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to go to my current vassal, Spoleto, feed them those 2 locations down south, and then I'm going to actually cancel their vassal status, like this. On top of that, I'm going to delete both of my fortifications in my capital and in Rome, so that I have an easier time sieging that down later. And I, of course, have a lot of money as the Papal State. I will actually take a few loans, which apparently isn't too much. But yeah, I'm going to start expanding the RGO of the province that I will be playing as. This way the Papal State will have a little bit less money at least, and I will be waiting a little bit before I declare the war. So as the new country, I will have a little bit of a better economy, basically. That is now the time that I go to create subject, historical subject, County of Pitigliano, or however it's called in Italian, and play as the release subject. There we go. Now, a very interesting or a very important thing to understand is that if you release a country, it is going to have the same government type as you have. So, for example, in my case, as I released myself from the Papal State, I am now a theocracy as well. I, of course, want to be a monarchy to also make the Papal State a monarchy later. You're going to see in a second why, basically with the same trick. But for that, I need to get below 20 devotion, because then I get an event where that automatically switches me to a monarchy. I can do that whenever I want, basically immediately. by just recruiting new courtiers over and over again, because that actually costs devotion. But I don't want to do it just yet, because if I become a monarchy, I will overtake the low legitimacy and have a civil war, basically. So I don't want that. I want that to happen just in the right moment. So for this moment, I'm just going to stop paying for the cost of court and also stop paying for the stability, as well as also for the diplomatic spending. And I'm going to mint the maximum to the maximum amount to get the most money in this time that I'm playing as this small country. Now what I basically just have to do is I have to win the war against the Papist State, who will have a lower potential army levies actually, once also the Black Death is going to spawn in a second. But also, I want a conquest war goal, because, first of all, I can't no-CB them because I'm Catholic. And on the other hand, if I use an independent CB, then I can't full annex them. And therefore, I'm going to wait around 2 years for the parliament to get a parliamentary claim on their provinces to then full annex them in a conquest war. And to actually achieve that, I have to save up money right now to then recruit a decent mercenary stack to fight their levies. So let's see how that goes, and let's see how long it takes me to actually fight the Papist State. There is the event to become a monarchy, as you can see, just like that, below 20 devotion, very easy. And before you ask, no, that does not count for the Papist State. If you are the Papist State, you won't get this event, so you can't just switch to a monarchy that way. By the way, the Black Death is just running around Europe right now. And that, of course, will decrease the levy sizes once it's all done. But there we go. We are a monarchy already. Okay, I think it's time now, because the Black Death has actually spread around here already. It's already gone again. Their levy size decreased also by almost half, which is very, very good. And also Savoy lost a little bit of levies. Also, all of their subjects are disloyal, and they are their only ally. So if I declare right now, only the micro subject over there will also join. But basically it's just 6,000 levies. And I have 150 ducats, plus I can also get 150 additional ducats from my estates by loans, basically, which I'm going to get up to, I think, 250, I guess. That means that I can now call the parliament with the most support, of course. Fabricate a casus belli on the Papist State on my neighboring province, I guess. And that gives me a casus belli against them, which I will be using immediately before they get any additional allies. Now let me just recruit some mercenaries. Let's see what we've got here. I think I'm going to go with this guy over here. He has quite decent stats. He's right around the corner in Tuscany, and he has 2 archer regiments, 1,000 regulars, which should be enough to defeat the Papist State levies. And then I guess Savoy, I'm just going to take them out with some time, basically. But anyways, let's just recruit him for the maximum amount of time, because I don't care. I won't be playing as this country any longer after that. And recruit him in my capital, which is going to take a few days actually. So I think I actually have to wait for those 17 days. So let's just start the war. There we go, and try to win this. Ooh, very interesting. Spoleto just offered us an alliance. I'm not sure if I can actually call them into this war. I think so. With promised land, I can call them into this war. That is very interesting, because they have actually a lot of potential levies. So I will do that and simply not give them anything, and try to occupy everything myself. So let's see how that goes. Okay, they are out. Savoy is out. And that means that I have now everything that I need. And by the way, it seems that, yeah, they are also at war with the Ottomans right now. So that's interesting. I've got 100% war score on the Papal State, which means that I can now actually take every single location off of them, including their current capital, Avignon, which is, I think, everything. Yes, right. I can also take some money to, go bankrupt immediately, although I think this won't matter that much anyways. So let's just peace out, full annexation of the Papal State. Now, very interestingly, that triggers, of course, an event immediately, which is called the Papal State. Now, the interesting thing about this event is it triggers for Catholic nations to actually own Rome itself and basically full annex the Papal State, right? So the event is asking me to either get a big relation hit with all of Catholic rulers to keep Rome itself without the Papal State, which would then, by the way, if I click this option over here, immediately spawn the Papal State in the HRE, which is basically like one of the theocracies is going to give one of their locations to the Papal State, okay? And the other option is that I reinstitute the Papal State in Rome itself, which basically gives Rome away again, okay? Now, of course, if I do that, they will be a theocracy again. I can't play as them, so what's the point, right? So I have to do one thing before that. And that is, first of all, to add all of these provinces to the HRE, so that Rome itself and all of the provinces are part of the HRE, which is also possible for Avignon, as you can see. Because that of course means that regardless where the capital of the new Papal State will be, they will be inside the HRE, which if you try to join the HRE as the Papal State, you know it's impossible typically because of their kingdom government rank. This way they will be part of the HRE. And now comes the interesting part. If I go to diplomacy, create subjects, historical subjects, now you can see that I can actually create the Papal State as a historical subject in all of the provinces that you can see right there. So basically in all but my capital province. And this button over here is typically grayed out. So if you do that with the starting Papal State, so whatever, you start as Naples, full annex the Papal State, right? Then you couldn't release them as a historical tag because there would be a requirement that says something like you cannot release the Papal State this way. But because I actually lost the Civil War as the Papal State, this Papal State that I'm releasing right here is not the historical Papal State. It is basically the revolter country that formed the Papal State. And that one I can actually release as a subject. And the interesting thing about that is, of course, now as every other country as well, I can click on that and play as the release subject, which will then turn me back into the Papal States, of course. You can already see that I can even choose them to become my fiefdom, and that is because as I am a monarchy, every country that I release with this interaction will become a monarchy as well. And therefore, that also counts for the Papal State. Now, of course, I don't want to have a different ruler because then I can't be the Pope of the Catholic Church, basically. So I'm going to choose to become a vassal first. And there we go. You can already see that I'm not even called the Papal States anymore. I think it's going to change in a second, but I'm called the Kingdom of the Rome, which is quite funny in itself. Yeah, you can see I am, my ruler is the King Demetrio or Zeolo, so some king with a dynasty, and that is because I am a monarchy. You can see monarchy, Papal States. Now, very important that you don't click like escape at some point, because this event shouldn't be there. This event should be an event for my previous nation. So if you click escape right now to get to the menu, for example, this event is going to go away, okay? So what you need to do is to immediately choose this option down here, which will then actually convert myself to Catholicism, make Rome my new capital, and very important, I will become the Catholic Pope again, because right now you can see the Catholic Church is without a leader because the Papal State was gone for a second, okay? So this event is literally the only thing that turns you back into the actual Pope. So let's just click that event. And now you can see I had to pause very quickly here, because you're not allowed to run a month tick in this state. But first of all, you can see I'm now the Catholic Pope again. King Demetrio is the Pope of the Catholic Church. As you can see, King of Rome and Pope of the Catholic Church. Which means that I get the money again from being the Pope of the Catholic Church, which is of course a key aspect of being the Papal State. But I am still a totally normal monarchy that actually can, as you can see, change succession laws to, as you can see, a normal succession law. I can even make a royal marriage right now with, for example, yeah, let's just say I do a royal marriage with England. Why not? There we go. Now the Pope actually has a queen consort. Now the reason why I said you're not allowed to actually pass a month tick is that there actually is a hidden event that has a very specific trigger, and that is if you are the Papal State, which I technically am the Papal State, the tag Papal State, that's why I have the flag and all that, right? And you don't have the Holy See reform here enacted, which basically turns you into the Pope, which is this one over here. Then, up on the month tick, you will get an event that turns you back into a theocracy and enacts this reform, which we don't want, of course. We want to stay a monarchy, right? So that's why we have to actually choose one of these reforms to change them into the actual Holy See government reform. Because, as you can see, known as the king, by the way, which is kind of weird. But anyways, you can see for just a little bit of stability, I enacted that now, which makes me the proper Pope now, with all of like the interactions and so on, but still as a monarchy. And that means that as long as I have this thing enacted, the event to turn me back into a theocracy won't happen. What I'm going to do now is, of course, I'm going to try to become the HRE Emperor that you can see that I can easily get voted on. So let's see when that happens, and then we are done for this video. This is it. I just had to conquer Naples to actually become a large nation inside the empire, because I'm over 500,000 pops now, and that actually gives me 4 votes, as you can see, which will now end the power struggle with me, the Pope of the Catholic Church and the King of the Papal States, becoming the HRE Emperor. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I can also now join the actually the HRE faction, so that's nice. And the Imperial coronation. The Imperial crown moves back to Rome as it should be, switches to be owned by the Papal State as it should be, and there we go. Of course, I'm going to decline that, man. That is it. This guy is now the Holy Roman Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, King of the Papal States, and Pope of the Catholic Church in personal union. This is just crazy, man. And let's just wait for the great power boost. And there we are. We are also a great power. Number 9, as it seems. This is just crazy, man. This is it for this week. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we are going to see, as always, on another Monday. By the way, guess why we can't be voted again? Because the next pope is going to be a woman.